After 5 years as a delivery worker, I never thought a single order could cost me my life. That night, close to midnight, I received an order for 2 servings of chicken rice. The delivery address was a house on the outskirts of the city. Even though I had a bad feeling about it, I had not received a single order all day, so I gritted my teeth and accepted it. When I arrived, I saw an old, desolate house standing alone in the middle of the woods. A cold gust of wind blew against me, sending shivers down my spine. I knocked on the door, but no one answered, so I took out my phone and called the customer.
The door is unlocked. Bring it inside.
I hesitated, but pushed the door open. The musty smell immediately filled my nose, making me grimace. The air inside was cold, as if no one had lived there for a long time.
I have your delivery. Is anyone here?
At that moment, the sound of a knife chopping down on wood, thick, heavy, and sharp, resounded from a room inside. I jumped, my heart pounding. Carefully, I tiptoed toward the door, and the scene before me made my stomach churn. A man was chopping a human arm. On the table, severed body parts were laid out in pieces. I screamed in terror. The thick, metallic scent of blood choked my throat, and I collapsed onto the floor.
You harmed someone. I have to call the police. Stay and help me, or I'll put you on this table next.
My entire body froze at his words. Fear forced me to turn back and help him pack the body parts into black bags. Each time my hands touched the cold, lifeless flesh, it felt as if thousands of insects were crawling over my skin. After we finished cleaning up, he ordered me to dispose of the black bags. Trembling, I carried them to a deserted riverside, tossing each one into the water before hurrying away. But as soon as I turned around, the man was already behind me, gripping a knife tightly, his cold eyes staring into mine.
You did well, but you still have to die. I did everything you asked. Please let me go. Let you go? You've seen everything. You can't live. I promise I won't tell anyone. Just let me go. The only way to keep a secret is to take it to the grave.
With that, he lunged at me. I dodged just in time, the blade grazing my arm and burning my skin. Enraged, he raised the knife again, his grip tightening as he thrust forward. On reflex, I grabbed his wrist, stopping the blade just inches from my face. His strength was terrifying. I used all my force to shove him back, making him stumble. Seizing the moment, I grabbed a rock from the ground and hurled it at his head. He cried out in pain, clutching his head as he staggered. I sprinted to my car, speeding away as I called the police. But by the time they arrived, the man had disappeared without a trace. A few days later, I returned home only to be greeted by a horrifying sight. A bloodied human arm lay in the middle of my floor. On the wall, a message was scrawled in dark red blood. You will have to disappear.
Did you really think you could escape me?
I spun around, locking eyes with the man. He aimed a gun at my head.
Please, I'll give you anything you want. I want your life.
In that instant, I grabbed his wrist, struggling to wrestle the gun upward. A gunshot rang out. The bullet struck the ceiling, sending dust falling around us. I jolted, loosening my grip, and he kicked my stomach hard, sending me crashing to the floor. I tried to push myself up, but before I could, his heavy foot slammed down onto my chest, pinning me against the cold tiles.
Don't waste your strength. You won't escape.
At that moment, my hand brushed against my phone in my pocket. Without hesitation, I yanked it out and hurled it at his face. With every ounce of strength left in me, I scrambled up, shoving him aside as I dashed toward the door. But before I could get far, a gunshot rang out. A searing pain shot through my leg, and I collapsed onto the floor.
You little rat. Let's see where you'll run now.
I refused to give up. Gritting my teeth, I crawled forward. Another shot rang out, piercing my other leg. I screamed in agony as my body convulsed and the world blurred.
Say goodbye to the world.
Suddenly, the door burst open with a loud bang. The man froze, eyes widening in shock. Before he could react, A bullet shot straight into his chest. Dark red blood slowly spread across his shirt. Police officers swarmed in, surrounding the house. I exhaled shakily, my body going limp as I shut my eyes in relief. It was finally over. I was rushed to the hospital, my legs soaked in blood. Though the killer was dead, the memory of that night haunted me every second of my life. The images replayed in my mind like a never-ending horror film with no escape.
After a long, tiring day at work, Emma had a habit of soaking in the bathtub, letting her body relax and washing away all the stress. Lately, she had noticed something strange. Her shampoo, body wash, and even toothpaste were running out faster than usual. At first, she thought maybe she had been using them too carelessly, so she tried to be more frugal. However, an uneasy feeling kept growing inside her, even though she couldn't quite explain why. That evening, after taking a bath, Emma wrapped herself in a soft blanket, turned on the TV, and relaxed.
Authorities have issued a high-priority warning regarding the escape of a dangerous criminal with a history of multiple homicides. The fugitive has been at large for several days, and the latest sighting places him in Orange County. Residents.
Oh my God, how dare I go outside?
A chill ran down her spine. She stood up immediately, checked the front door and windows, and locked everything tightly. After making sure there were no gaps, she returned to her bedroom. But just then, a faint sound came from under the bed. She froze. Her throat went dry. Her heart pounded in her chest. Holding her breath, she peered into the dim darkness beneath the bed. A small mouse was quietly nibbling on crumbs. Emma let out a relieved sigh and chuckled at herself for panicking over nothing. But just as she was about to stand up, another sound came from behind her.
Silly girl.
A soft, eerie giggle. Emma's body went rigid. It felt as if invisible hands were tightening around her throat. She didn't want to turn around, but fear compelled her to face the truth.
Who's there?
Slowly, she approached the wardrobe. Her fingers trembled as they reached for the handle. Taking a deep breath, she gathered all her courage and gently pushed the door open.
You sought me.
I never used to believe in ghosts, but that no longer mattered after what I had experienced. Hello, my name is Doris. I am 25 years old, and the story I am about to tell has haunted me ever since. Back then, my mother fell seriously ill and had to be hospitalized. Worried about her, I stayed at the hospital to take care of her. She was placed in an old room at the end of the hallway. The doctors didn't want her to stay there, but the hospital had run out of rooms. I didn't think much of it. After all, every hospital had old rooms, didn't they? But on the very first night I stayed, I began to feel that something was wrong. As I was about to close my eyes, a strange sound came from the bathroom. At first, it was just a light movement, as if someone inside was trying to open the door. But then, it turned faster, stronger, until the door burst open with a loud click. I swallowed hard and stepped forward to check. There was no sign that anyone had just been in there. Shaking my head, I told myself that I was just too tired and imagining things. But just as I turned away, a sob echoed. A faint, mournful sound that sent chills down my spine. It came from the very same bathroom. My heart pounded as I looked back inside. Yet there was no one there. When I glanced at the mirror above the sink, I saw a child. Pale skin, hollow eyes, weeping blood. Suddenly, a chorus of laughter rang out, filling the room as if dozens of children were laughing at once. I stumbled back, my heart racing, and hastily flipped the light switch. The boy and the laughter vanished. At that moment, the door to the room swung open. A pregnant nurse walked in to check my mother's temperature. She was thin, her face pale, and her uniform looked worn as if it had been used for a long time. I glanced at the clock on the wall, feeling strange, Wasn't it too late for rounds? The nurse smiled gently and said,
Hello, I'm here to check the patient's temperature.
I returned her smile and asked, I see, but you're still working this late? She smiled again.
It's our responsibility after all.
As she took my mother's temperature, she told me a story about this room. She said that about 10 years ago, a nurse had secretly aborted her child in that very bathroom. Overcome with guilt, she had jumped out of the window. Her body was found in the parking lot the next morning. Hearing this, I immediately told her about what I had seen earlier in the bathroom. She listened, then smiled and said,
Perhaps the boy was the spirit of the unborn child.
I quickly asked, how do you know that? She chuckled and said,
I made it up.
With that, she left the room, leaving me in suffocating silence. Just then, I noticed a drop of blood slowly trailing down her leg. Panicked, I rushed to the door, intending to call her back, but the hallway was empty. Not a soul, not a single sound. I stood frozen, a chill creeping down my spine, making the hairs on my neck stand on end. When I returned to the room, my mother was fast asleep. I lay down on my bed, but no matter how much I tried, I couldn't sleep. The night dragged on, each tiny noise making me jump until I finally saw the first light of dawn. When the doctor came to check on my mother, I told him everything that had happened the night before. He listened, his eyes thoughtful but not surprised. Then he said slowly,
There have been many rumors about this room, but there is no pregnant nurse working at our hospital.
My chest tightened, my mind swirling with confusion. Then who was she? A shiver ran through me. Could she have been the nurse who had aborted her child and jumped from the window? The following days, everything seemed to return to normal until my mother was discharged. As I helped her out of the room, I instinctively turned back, and I saw the nurse standing by the window, holding a baby in her arms. Panicked, I rubbed my eyes, but when I looked again, she was gone, as if she had never been there.
I have a friend named Emma who is 25 years old. She once had a beautiful love story with a man named William, who was 3 years older than her. At first, William loved and spoiled her, making her believe she had found the perfect partner. But soon, his love became suffocating and turned into a nightmare. William controlled Emma too much. He didn't let her meet her friends, not even her closest girlfriends. When she couldn't take it anymore, she decided to break up. But William didn't let her go easily. At first, he begged her desperately, but then he started threatening her. One day, he kidnapped Emma. She woke up in a strange room, her hands and feet tied tightly. William spoke softly.
Hello, my love.
William's voice was gentle, but it sent chills down Emma's spine. She tried to move, but the ropes were too tight and hurt her wrists. Emma shouted angrily.
Let me go, William!
William tilted his head and smiled.
You are mine. I won't let you leave me.
He walked closer and touched her face. Emma tried to turn away, but she couldn't do anything. William wanted Emma to love him again and obey him. He clenched his teeth and said,
Emma, say you love me. Say it!
Emma struggled, but the more she resisted, the tighter he held her. She yelled,
I hate you! I regret ever loving you!
Hearing this, William's eyes filled with rage. He immediately slapped Emma hard. Emma felt a burning pain on one side of her face, and the sharp sting made her dizzy. William shouted angrily,
I did everything for you. And you? You want to leave me? You betrayed me.
Emma screamed back.
William, you are crazy! You disgust me!
William became more furious. He punched and slapped her repeatedly until her lips bled. The days after that were a never-ending nightmare. Whenever she resisted, he beat her, starved her, and left her weak and trembling. But after hurting her, he would hold her close, kiss her forehead, and comfort her like a child. Emma soon realized that the more she fought back, the more violent he became. She spoke softly.
William, I'm sorry for hurting you.
She knew she had to act the way he wanted, at least until she found a way to escape. Without waiting for his reaction, she smiled gently and said,
These days, I realize that I still love you.
William seemed surprised by her reaction. His eyes widened in shock. Even though she wanted to push him away, Emma held back. She had to think fast and find a way to escape this horrible place. William smiled happily.
Good girl. I knew you still loved me.
Emma then said softly,
William, I want to hug you, but my hands are tied.
Without hesitation, William untied her ropes. Emma watched as he loosened each knot, feeling relieved inside. She gave him a weak smile and whispered,
Thank you, William. I love you.
William smiled with satisfaction, stroking her head like a pet. Emma then saw a bottle of wine on the table. Slowly, she walked over and poured some into a glass. She handed it to William and smiled.
William, I am really happy to be with you.
William was completely off guard. He took the glass of wine from Emma's hand and brought it to his lips to drink. Seizing the moment, Emma grabbed the wine bottle and smashed it over his head. Emma ran to the door, but it was locked. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't open it. She looked around the room, searching for anything to help her escape. Then she saw a rusty iron rod in the corner. Without hesitation, she grabbed it and used all her strength to hit the door. After several strikes, the door finally broke open. Emma ran outside without looking back. Later, she called the police, but when they arrived, William was gone. There were no signs of torture or blood in the apartment. In fact, the apartment was Emma's home, but she truly believed she had been kidnapped. The police thought she had mental health issues and sent her to the hospital for treatment. A few days later, they found a man's body in an abandoned house outside the city. His body had multiple stab wounds from a broken wine bottle found at the scene. After investigating, the police confirmed that the victim was William. They also found Emma's fingerprints at the crime scene. However, when they questioned her, she had no memory of killing William. After suffering such a huge trauma, Emma could no longer tell what was real and what was just a nightmare in her mind. Now she is in the hospital, receiving treatment for PTSD and paranoid disorder.